I love it.
which is the fun part. Okie dokie. Let me just realign my screen here. Sorry. Okay. Hey Dabbers, welcome back to another episode. Today we are with the lovely Sara Dunn. Sara is a wedding SEO specialist for wedding planners, photographers, venues, and other wedding professionals who want their website to rank higher on Google. Yes, please. With a knack for making SEO easy to understand, she's created a unique wedding SEO framework that simplifies what it takes to get your wedding business in front of your dream clients. Sara has been featured by Honeybook, Nace, Weddings for Real, and the Vendor Table podcast. She has presented on countless stages, including Wedding Pro, WIPA, and Wedding MBA. Each year, her framework helps over 1 million searchers find the wedding pros and advice they're looking for. If you're ready to reach rockstar status on Google, Sara is ready to be your geeky best friend that shows you how it's done. Sara, we are so happy to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. I am so happy to be here. And hopefully, we can make it not just another biz podcast episode, take
That's
it to the
right.
next level.
Yep.
Wink, wink. Yes, ma'am. You understood the assignment.
I'm trying, but we'll try to make it fun, right? Even though this is a topic that most people do not love, but I think we can geek out a little bit and have some fun with it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Sara, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into SEO? How did you start your business?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a strange service provider for the wedding industry. I will admit this because I've never been a wedding professional myself. I actually started my business doing web design, digital marketing. I worked almost exclusively with local clients near me, small businesses in Southwest Michigan. And I did that for about 6 years, which was a great training ground because these businesses asked me to do so many crazy things. And I just said yes to all of them. They were like, hey, you look young. Can you run our social media? Hey, you know technology. Can you send an email newsletter for us every month? Like, build our website, redo our logo, do a brochure. And I was just like, okay. And so little by little, I learned all sorts of things about marketing, about business, and print marketing, digital marketing. But truly, my favorite thing was SEO, helping my clients to get found on Google. And I learned it out of necessity because I had one client that was like, hey, so you're going to do a website redesign for us, but we already rank #1 on Google. So I just want to make sure that that's still going to continue. And I was like, of course, because I was just a person that said yes to everything. I was like, yes, don't you worry about that. And then I broke out in a cold sweat on the drive home and was like, I better not ruin his business. So I had to learn SEO fairly quickly. How does it work that a site is #1 on Google? Why is that? What do I need to do as the web designer to help this business? And so I was self-taught by YouTube University and found myself like 7 years later doing an SEO project for a wedding planner. And it was my favorite thing I'd ever done. And thankfully, she knew all sorts of people in the wedding industry and was basically like, I will now be telling all of my friends about you. So Sara Does
Amazing.
SEO was born, and now this is all I do.
The question is, does that company, were they still ranking #1 after you did their website?
Yes, thankfully. I
Okay,
mean,
okay.
no one stays #1 forever,
Right,
but
right,
I
right.
kept them on page 1 and we really monitored it really closely for
Nice,
several years. And we were able to maintain their rankings. Now, I
nice.
checked on them like a year ago. They had sold the business to a different owner. They redid the website and they now rank on like page 3. And I'm like,
Mm. Oh,
they didn't do
interesting.
their SEO right on the new website. I'm like,
Yeah.
not my problem anymore, but I'm
Yep.
really sad
Yep.
about it because that was the one that I learned on.
And if
That
I
was like what
remember,
launched your business or like into the
Yeah.
SEO. Yeah.
Yes.
well, and I was going to say, if I remember correctly, Sara, I heard you speak recently. Carrie's going to be like, not this again, at the mastermind. If
Yes.
people,
Forever
oh my
talk
God.
about the
And we
mastermind.
always talk about the mastermind because it was like a life-changing event and the cat like a what do they call them? Canon event. I feel like it was a canon event.
I've
Oh my
never heard
God.
that
What is
phrase. What does
that?
that
Gen
mean?
Z, write in the
Oh,
comments if you know what a canon event, because I learned that all from you guys. So anyway, it's like a something that's takes off another part of your life, basically. But um, you said you had even gotten approached by other businesses that are not in the wedding industry. They want you to do their SEO, and you're like, no, I only specialize in weddings. Is that right?
Yes. So that's been my life for like the last 6 or 7 years. I just decided to really niche down. So, when I was this person that was saying yes to doing anything marketing related, I realized I was kind of okay at a lot of it, but I wasn't really good at any of it. And I was like, I want to be really good at something. Like, is there something so specific that I could learn it, do it every day, do it over and over again, optimize it, and become the best in the world at something? Like, that was my fascination in like 2018. And so I was like, wedding SEO is my thing. And I still love it. Like, I love that pursuit of being the best, number one, and like figuring out how it works and just shifting with the time. So yeah, when other businesses come and they're like, hey, you specialize in weddings, but will you help my salon to rank on Google? I'm like, nope, not unless you do wedding hair and makeup, because that's what I know.
There you go.
Yep.
I love that.
All right. So to dive in, Sara, what are, I guess, maybe three sneaky SEO mistakes that you see wedding pros make that are killing their chances of being found online? Even if they have a really pretty website and that's done well, they have good copy, but the SEO portion of it, what are some mistakes you're seeing people make?
Yeah. So when we think about SEO, we think about influencing a robot on the internet to think that your business is the best at a certain category or that you're known for something specific. So all we do in SEO is study why certain websites or businesses show up at the top or get recommended by AI search tools. And then we try to do more of those things. None of these tools really tell us why certain websites rank first. Well, there is one tool now that tells us why. We can talk more about that later. But there are certain things that through studying this for years, I've figured out these are the things that have the most influence on whether when someone goes to Google or ChatGPT and says, who's the best wedding planner in Nashville? There's certain things that these algorithms look for. So I do have a few thoughts on sneaky SEO mistakes that might be holding you back from being the business that gets recommended there. And the number one thing is not using the phrases that people actually search for on your website. Now, we call these keywords, but basically it's knowing what people are actually searching for in the tool you're trying to get found on. And a lot of us, especially creative people, you're all like, I want to stand out. I want to be known for something different than everyone else. So I'm going to write up that I'm not going to say I'm a photographer. I'm going to say I'm a capturer of memories that last forever. Or I'm not going to say I'm a party planner. I don't like that phrase. I'm going to say that I design soirees, and then I look at this website that you've created and I'm like, I love this. It's so creative. However, Google does not understand what you do because you're not using the phrases that people actually search for. So whether you like it or not, they're searching for location plus wedding planner or location plus wedding photographer or location plus party planner. And you have to actually use those phrases in your own content if that's what you want to show up for when people search. So that's the number one mistake is not using that really specific keyword that people search for. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
yes.
don't be fancy. Just keep it, dumb it down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can be fancy in like a headline or like a
Sure.
tagline, but you have to also use that exact phrase somewhere that matches what people are searching for.
Well, this is fascinating because it's exactly what I would tell people when they were putting together their Pinterest profile. Very similarly, I said Pinterest is kind of like a search engine. They're not going into that search bar and putting designer of soirees, they're putting wedding at Calamigos Ranch, right? They want to see inspiration for very simple things. And people were naming their Pinterest boards these hilarious, like quotes from movies and I'm like, nobody is searching that. So
Right.
this makes complete sense. And that's what I would say too, Carrie. I was like, just dumb it down. There's no better way of saying, just simplify, bare bones. It's okay if we're all putting those words into on our website based on if we're in the same location, because the rest of the imagery and everything else will help differentiate us.
Yes. And I feel the same way about blog post titles. You give that example of like the flowery board name. So many people will name a real wedding blog something like Breezy Coastal Wedding, Suzanne and Bill.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm like,
No.
not something people are searching for. And the title that you use is so important to its discoverability. So you got to find that keyword, wedding at the certain venue name is usually a really good option because that's what people want to find.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's great
So I
to
would say
know. I feel like a lot of my old blog posts are like breezy coastal wedding. And it's like, yeah, you're right. No one is searching that. They're like Calamigos Ranch wedding at the pavilion or whatever, because they want to see those specific images.
Yes. So learning a little bit about what people are actually asking for and then aligning your language with it. Number one SEO tip. My number two sneaky SEO mistake would be avoiding all location-based keywords. So many wedding pros, especially as they elevate their business, they're like, I can work anywhere. I don't want to put a certain location on my website because then I'm going to get pigeonholed into only working in that place. So totally like understand the desire to travel and do weddings in different places. But I also want to balance that with the fact that most searchers actually search in a location-based way. It's like, especially for services, like location wedding planner, location wedding photographer, those are the most popular searches, not style, not the word editorial, not the word fine art. It's usually location-based. Gabby, I know you've run into that a little bit.
Yes, you and I have had a chat. I have since then made some improvements to my website, and I do put Nashville, Nashville full wedding weekend or something like that, planner. And in the footer, we have added some other locations that you said was going to be a great way to add those in. And you've given me other amazing tips and tricks, and I will not divulge all of the secrets, but yeah, that made sense because it's true that people are not necessarily looking for destination wedding planner. I'm sure they are, but they would probably like to find someone perhaps local to them first that will travel, or just based off of blog posts about those locations that we service, or a landing page or something like that. They're able to find the location that we service. But yeah, that was a rude awakening in a great way.
Well, and I have to say, I mean, for some businesses, and they really don't want to be location specific. And so maybe destination wedding planner is the only keyword option. In that case, it just becomes a lot more difficult to rank because you have to think about the thousands of businesses that want to get found for that same thing versus if you're only competing in one local area with other people that are trying to rank in that area, the pool of competition is just smaller. So that usually makes it easier. So you got to balance in your SEO. And you also, if you come to your SEO gal and you're like, Sara, I can't figure out why my competitor is ranking first for Dallas wedding photographer. And I look at your homepage and you refuse to use the word Dallas. That's probably why they're ranking above you. So, you got to balance what you want to do with your business and how you want to get found. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Last thing that's a sneaky SEO mistake and very common is thinking only about your website. So this might sound counter to what I just said, because we've just been talking about what you write on your website, but I always like to bring this up because so many people think that your rankings are tied just to what you write on your website or what you blog about or those changes you make to your own site. But all search engines are also looking at how you're presenting yourself throughout the rest of the internet to understand if other people trust you. And if you're a legitimate business, because I could put up a website tomorrow that says I'm a Dallas wedding photographer, And we don't want that to rank at the top if I've just started my business yesterday. We want to actually see in the search results businesses that are trustworthy, that will actually deliver, that aren't spam companies just taking people's money. And so part of that is you have to prove that you're a legit expert. And that might mean getting mentioned on other websites, getting press features. Hopefully you've done some work with other vendors in your area and they've linked to you in the galleries or the blog posts on their website. So SEO is not just about what you write on your own website. It's also about the reputation you're building on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question here. Does it matter how the other website mentions you in the fact that if I now newly realize that I need to put, let's say, Nashville wedding planner, but this whole time I've just been putting myself credit as wedding planner, does it matter how in their at the bottom of their feature they just say wedding planner because we can events and link to the website? Or should I have requested that they say Nashville wedding planner because we can events link to my website?
Now, I will say either is good. So I don't want anyone to hear this answer and go, oh, I have to be really specific about the way that other people are crediting me. Any link and mention is good. It proves that you're well connected. That said, more and more, as these search engines get more sophisticated, they are going to take a look at what those sites are saying about you and kind of the other words that are around your mention. So, Gabby, if you get a feature in a publication online and they mention that you're an expert in Nashville weddings in that feature, that can actually help you to rank for Nashville keywords because the search engine is able to pick up on that's where you're located and that's where your area of expertise is. So it is great if you get features that mention your location or the specific keywords you'd love to get found for, but I don't want anyone to get obsessed with that. I mean, it's just great that you get mentioned regardless.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. That was really great because I think those are all mistakes that I've personally made. Carrie, I would imagine you are also thinking back to your blog posts right now.
Oh yeah, I'm like, well, because I had someone blog for me for a long time, and no blame, but I feel like because I approved all the blog posts, but I'm like, I feel like a lot of them, like we did get more specific, but I like our really old ones are definitely this like fun title where it's like breezy coastal type of thing. So I guess that leads to a question of like, can you like, I mean, I know you can always go back and fix it, but then will that really help improve your SEO, even just fixing like years old blog posts?
I mean, it is something that is totally acceptable, going back and optimizing old content. Now, you may not really want your old content to get found. So that's the other thing that you want to balance. Like, do you really want to optimize that one for the venue name if it was 8 years ago and doesn't represent your best work there anymore? I would rather you put up a new piece of content that is a better representation of your current work at that place. So if it's real old and it doesn't represent your best stuff, I probably wouldn't touch it again. And what you don't want to do is like go into old blog posts and add a bunch of the same keywords to all the titles. So the idea is not that you're going to go back to every old blog post and add Nashville wedding planner at the end of the blog title. You would want to be optimizing it for a keyword that's relevant to that post itself. So I would say only go back and edit old blog posts if there are things you still want to get found today.
For sure.
That's a great tip. And that kind of leads perfectly to our next question. Could you break down kind of how SEO actually helps a wedding pro find better fit clients as opposed to just mass inquiries, which we're not mad about if we get mass inquiries, but we also want to weed some people out. And so kind of what you're saying, if we don't want to focus on old blog posts that were maybe like burlap and mason jars and it's just not the vibe right now. So if we don't want more of that, how do you feel like SEO can help us get better clients?
Yeah. So I will say off the top, I wish there was a magic keyword that only people with 500K budgets and really nice friends, and they're a couple with like a cute dog and they have great style. Like, I wish there was a magic keyword that those people searched for specifically, but there is not. If I found that, I, would really be really happy in this job. Unfortunately, I have found that whether people have $5 or $5 million, they do tend to search in the same way because they don't know any different. It's location plus service most of the time. And so the only way to reach couples at a certain style or maybe a certain budget level is to align your content with the venues or locations that tend to attract those type of people. So that's why one of my favorite strategies right now is venue spotlight blog posts. So actually writing content about venues where you've worked before, where you have expertise that seem to attract those type of clients that you love to work with. That's how you can get a little bit more specific and connect with people that maybe are a better client for you. But SEO is something, ranking for these keywords, it does tend to bring in quite the variety of people. So some of our most successful clients are those with larger teams where they can actually, have a service that's a fit for quite a variety of clients. And then they can really benefit from the large amount of traffic that we can drive for them. So there isn't necessarily SEO magic that I can implement to get you a really specific type of person.
But I like that tip about the venue. Would you say it's fair to do that even for a venue that's maybe a dream venue that you haven't worked at yet, but you aspire to? And how would you go about more or less structuring that blog if you don't have your own photos from there?
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways my students have done this because I am like, right, venue spotlights, like this is a great way to get yourself in front of things. So two different options, especially for photographers, a great option is you can do a venue tour. If that venue will let you do a tour, tell them that you want to write content about it, want to get familiar with the venue, and you'll link back to them and make sure to show them in a positive light. You can go around and take some of your own photos and really ask good questions and do a little Q&A with the venue manager, and that'll allow you to still do a venue spotlight blog post. For planners, a couple of my students have actually done a team up with a photographer and they go do that venue visit together. So they can both use the photos that are included and write their own article. Of course, styled shoots as well are a great way to get content at a venue where you haven't worked before. So if there's an opportunity to participate in a shoot that's at that place, don't just blog the story behind that shoot. Also do a blog post that's specifically about the venue, and that can help that content go even further.
And then add it to Pinterest for bonus points.
Yeah.
Yes. And then do a video on TikTok. Yes. From the behind the scenes. Yes. All of this can come together. Does that make sense? I'd love to hear if you guys have any ideas on that topic too. Is this something you've ever done before?
I definitely, I haven't done any recently, but I definitely have some older blog posts where I highlighted like the top 5 venues in LA, where like some of them were ones that I've worked at, some weren't, or like Palm Springs, because I wanted to get more weddings in Palm Springs. And I guess I don't know if they have been like super helpful. Like, I don't know like who's come from that, but I feel like they were good to have in there, because I even find that sometimes my blog posts are like good references for clients when they're like, or potential clients, they're curious about something. And I'm like, oh, I have a blog up about that. Like, here's a link to it. And it's also fun for me because I feel like I get to just like dive into the venue a little bit more and learn more about it.
I love that.
I've had actually a really great success story recently. Well, TBD if it's going to be successful, but the front part is I toured a venue out here in Nashville that opened up a little bit outside of the city, and I did exactly that. I took my own iPhone photos at the time and just blogged about them, and then I did get a hold of some professional photos that she allowed me to use, and then I wrote about it and I shared the link with the venue owner, and thank you so much, so great having you, blah blah blah, and a month or two go by and I get my SEO or my analytics report. And sure enough, this is the top viewed blog post on my blog right now. And I send her the analytics and she says, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, we'd love to add you to our preferred vendor list. And I'm like, Yay.
Yes.
Yay. Good job. And that's kind of what I've told people on my own YouTube channel is like, especially new planners that have no connections, go out, make connections with the venue. And it's always good. Like, you can't just go and ask someone to be on their preferred list. You kind of have to show that you're also promoting them in a way. And I found this to be the best way to support the venue. And therefore, they may sometimes put you on the list. Not all the time, but at the very least, you get an amazing blog post out of it and you get traffic to your website that proves that you've been to this venue and you know something about it.
Yes, that's so good. And it actually reminds me of a story of one of my students in wedding SEO bootcamp. She's an officiant, and officiants don't get a ton of love from venues. Like, they're not the category that venues like, yes, come out and have a tour. But she decided she wanted to do a giant venue list blog post of the best wedding venues in her area of Pennsylvania. And so she sent out outreach during off season. She said, I'm going to do this. I'd love to take a tour of your venue. I think she had like 10 that said yes out of her big list. She publishes the blog post. It starts ranking on Google. And then she used it as leverage to get more tours and have more meetings with different venues. Hey, I'd love to include you on this post that's ranking on the first page of Google. Would love to come out and chat with you. And so it's actually been a great networking tool in addition to traffic and SEO.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great success story.
So,
Sara, I feel like as wedding pros, we're very busy. I would say everyone that I talk to, especially planners, are like, I'm in the thick of it. Things are crazy. Like they're just trying to survive. So what would you say, like, if you only have 2 hours a month to spend on SEO, let's set the bar low. How would you say people could spend their time best to move the needle forward?
yes. Okay. I love this question. I was like, okay, 2 hours a month. That's probably enough for like half a blog post. So I was trying to think this through. But I would say
2 to 4 hours, 5 hours, maybe more.
if we go 2 hours a month, what I would do is I would alternate months. I would do a blog post one month. And then the next month, I might just do a few updates to Google Business Profile. So like low lift, maybe 6 blog posts a year. It's more than most wedding pros are doing and still very impactful. So even if you can't blog every month, totally fine. But so I would spend 1 month, do a blog post, venue spotlights are some of my favorite right now. And then the next month, spend a little bit less time and just go through your Google Business Profile. This is a free listing that Google gives you. Every wedding business should have one. And most wedding businesses completely ignore their Google Business Profile. Like they set it up one time a decade ago and they haven't looked at it since. And it can be so valuable to go in there every so often, upload some photos of your most recent work. So all your photos aren't time-stamped 6 years ago. Make a Google update pointing to the blog post you did last month. It's kind of like a little post you can put right on there. Make sure there aren't any weird services that have been added automatically by Google's systems. And make sure you're responding to all of your reviews. So if you only have 2 hours a month, I would alternate between creating new content for your blog and website and doing small tweaks to your Google Business Profile.
And Google Business is on Maps now. Is that right?
Yeah. So that's all tied together.
Okay.
Like if anyone's searching on Maps, they're going to see the information that you put in Google Business Profile.
Okay. That's a great reminder because I think we all have many of us have a presence there, but is it a good presence or is it an outdated presence? It's hard to say other than reviews. Like we send that link out for people to review, but I keep forgetting about the post section. And so you're saying we should try to link it back to our website, specifically maybe up new blog posts.
Yeah, I like to think about Google updates, Google posts, kind of like what you would post on Facebook if you're updating there, because you're able to write some text, upload up to 10 images per post, and add a link. So a little bit different than maybe what you would post on Instagram because you get to add a link and a button right into every post. So I would push people a little bit deeper into your site or try to get their attention with something more specific. I've had venue clients where we use it to share what Saturdays they still have open in this year. Hey, if you want to get married in 2025, we still have 6 fall Saturdays open. Contact us or check out our availability calendar. So really trying to get a little more specific to get a little more attention, make sure that you're getting the click into your website, not just letting people kind of go off to your Instagram or social or other places if you want them to come in and convert.
Is responding to the reviews just to keep it more active, or is it actually helping the rank of your SEO?
So I haven't read a study that says that positive review replies lead to higher rankings. However, there have been a lot of studies that actually show that when you reply to your reviews, you actually earn more positive reviews because reviewers see that you're actually monitoring it, that you appreciate what your reviewers are saying, and you're more likely to actually see it if they take the time to leave the review. It's also something that a lot of people, as they're reading your reviews, are kind of judging. Do you seem to really connect and know your clients? If Joe leaves you a review and says, we loved working with this vendor, do you say, oh, Joe, I'm so happy that I was at your and Suzanne's wedding. It was such a beautiful day. Or are you basically like, thanks so much for your review?
Right.
So there's a lot of people can see a lot of the way you interact with your clients in the way that you respond to reviews.
Yeah, and I actually do read those, especially for negative reviews, like in restaurants or whatever. I was in the car the other day with my husband, and there was a new restaurant that popped up, and I was like, "Ooh, let's look at the good reviews and let's look at the bad reviews." And I specifically want to look at the bad reviews just to see how the owner responded. Like, so sorry, we were really understaffed that day, but we have since hired on 4 people, or whatever it is, because I think there's a place for forgiveness there.
Yes.
And we have a few bad reviews. 3 of them are spam, which, don't get me started. I have tried to get Google to remove them for years now and it hasn't happened, but that's okay. I do respond to it and say, hey, you are not a real client of mine. I have no idea. This is not real. I've contacted Google, at least so the person can see it if they're looking at bad reviews. And then same with the other ones. It's like, you answer to the situation, sorry, this wasn't the outcome you wanted, but we respect our contract and this is what happens, or blah, blah, blah. So I appreciate that. I don't think it's a deal breaker when there's someone that has a bad review here and there.
Yeah, especially if they're professional in their response.
Yeah.
In my prior life of saying yes to things, I did review management for a car dealership. And you have never seen worse reviews in your life than the things people will say to a car dealership.
Yeah.
And so it becomes really important to learn how to acknowledge how the person felt, de-escalate, or in some way tell your side of the story without looking defensive or writing a novel, and then ask to take it offline. So that's my number one recommendation. We'd love to talk about this with you further and see if we can reach resolution. Please contact us here. And that kind of shows the people reading the review that, you were still willing to try to make this situation better in some way. So yeah, negative reviews are sometimes part of business, and how you respond to them is a big part of how much they count against you.
Yeah. Oh, great tips. Great tips. Okay, diving in a little bit more. We did talk about blog posts. Do you feel that blog posts are still worth it? And we already kind of know your answer, but in this age of TikTok and AI and like all these other places that we could probably be focusing our SEO efforts, and even so, maybe you mentioned the Google My Business section, which feels like it could be a very outdated practice, but it doesn't sound like it is.
Right. I mean, so many people want me to be like, blogging is dead. You don't have to do it anymore. And I have to acknowledge that blogging is different than it was when I first started doing SEO in 2014. Like, people would actually subscribe to blogs and they wanted to get notified on every post that you created. And that's not what blogs are for anymore. You're not writing to your loyal followers and fans. I actually saw someone post on Threads a few months ago. She was a photographer and she wrote, hey, I want the couple's opinion. Do you ever go to someone's website and go read the blog posts? And my answer was, I think you're thinking about this a little bit backwards, because your blog is not something that most people will go to if they land on your website for other reasons. They're not going to land on your homepage and go click blog and scroll through. People don't have that kind of time anymore. Like, they can get all the content they want in other ways. So what you're doing with blogging now is seeing it more as the entry point to your website when people are searching for things other than your exact service. When they're searching for advice on a certain topic, when they're searching for a venue, when they're searching for venue options, or just something you know a lot about. You got to think about your blog as that entry point, not something that entertains a visitor who comes to your website from another source. So that's what blogging is for now. And that's why it's not as important to blog every week or blog consistently. I think that advice is dead. You don't have to blog consistently for it to help your SEO. You just have to occasionally put something out that's going to help you rank for more searches, more keywords, and show off your expertise. So that's why I said, 6 blog posts a year if you want to, every other month, or I don't care, in your off season, publish 4 and don't publish for the rest of the year. It's just about keeping your website updated over time and bringing yourself some new opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would you say for people, like, I was blogging pretty consistently over the last 5-6 years, like weekly, every other week, but would you say that's still relevant or like worth our time to be blogging that consistently? Or you're probably going to get the same results as someone who's blogging like once a month or twice a quarter or whatever it might be?
Yeah. So, Carrie, I haven't looked at your blog, so I'm not
It's not
making
updated
any
right now.
specific comments. But what I found about wedding professionals who are trying to hit a certain frequency, like I'm trying to publish every week, is they'll publish a blog post that's like 2 paragraphs long. Like they're just kind of trying to create something and press the publish button because they think the more they update their website, the higher they're going to rank. And that's not really the case. What we want to focus on is more high quality content rather than frequency. So if you can't create something super in depth, helpful, interesting, beautiful on that cadence, I want you to post less and create higher quality blog posts. And especially things that are aligned around the topics that people are searching for. So it's not just about a lot of photographers still think they need to blog every session. I'm like, no, you don't. I promise you don't. You don't have to leave that family session and put it on your blog anymore, because there's probably not a lot of searches you can align yourself with around one family session. So to think a little bit more strategically around the topics people are actually searching for, those are the things that we want to blog about. And we want to go in depth, lots of pictures, bulleted lists, headings to break it up. What is something that people actually want to read through? That's our goal.
Good to know. All right. I'm strategizing in my
Yeah.
Well, because the other day I was like, I haven't blogged in a while, and I was like, I got to get back on it. But now I feel like those tips are more helpful of making it like really quality content. I don't feel as bad now for not blogging recently too.
No, you're fine. I mean, there are a lot of businesses still successful with SEO without constantly updating their blog or website. So you're totally fine if it's been a little while, and your website may still be working for you just fine.
Yeah. So in terms of like, I guess a client success story, or like a story that like surprised you when it comes to results in the wedding industry with SEO, what's something you've seen over your years?
Oh, I'm excited about this question because it actually goes with what we were just talking about. So I did a really big SEO project for a photographer client about 2 years ago. And here's what surprised me. I went to check on her just recently. Our project was only 6 months long, so we haven't worked together in a while, but I was like, ooh, I wonder if she's still ranking. I wonder what she's been working on. And I noticed she hasn't updated her website at all in the 2 years since I touched it. No new galleries, no photos swapped out, no new content on the blog. And what's really surprising and what is awesome is that the pages we created for her for SEO are still working. So it's proof that you don't have to keep your website updated. You don't have to blog every week. It doesn't tank your entire SEO if you haven't touched your website in a while. So I'm like looking at her stats right now, and she's got 2 landing pages that in the last year have both gotten over 500 clicks from Google, and they haven't been updated in years, but they're still very relevant to her elopement services that she offers. And they're still bringing in clients for her. So I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that SEO can have really lasting results without you constantly feeding it or, working to go viral or something. It's like you set it up, you create great content that fits what the searcher's looking for, and the search engines will keep delivering it to the right people.
And because Sara, you offer audits for people, because I think that's something where they're hearing this and they're like, okay, blogging, great, got it. I'll do that once a month or once every other month. I'll make it really good, really big. But then they're maybe a little bit stuck on like, how's the rest of my website doing? Where do they get the data? Where do they get the numbers? Is that something that you offer for people, like a website audit that leads into services, or how do they go about, like, how do they know?
So I'm always happy to do a discovery for a client.
Okay.
So I do something that I call a discovery. It is basically like, I'll go in and take a look at your current situation and help you understand what service might be your best next step. Now, a lot of SEO providers provide something that's more in depth, an audit, where they really go through your whole website. And I will admit, I used to offer audits, and I don't anymore. And the reason is because I found that most wedding pros, because you're so busy, I can give you a 12-page report on what you should do next and what you really need to fix. And a lot of the clients would take it and go, I'll do that in the off season.
Yeah.
And they never did. And I delivered what they paid for, but I didn't feel good about it because they had spent all this money and saw no change. I said, how can I actually do something where it's basically setup plus strategy, where I go in and fix the biggest problems for them, those one-time fixes, like you're not using keywords on your homepage. Like I can fix that in a pretty quick amount of time. And then I can give you the strategy to go implement in the future, but you get an immediate benefit because I've done the hardest parts for you. So that's why I created the SEO Fix service that now my team provides to our clients. It's an SEO setup plus a strategy. So the keyword research is done, the keywords are set up, and then it includes access to my course and all my materials with some customized recommendations. So I don't do audits anymore.
Okay.
But I promise you don't actually want one.
No, you're right. I think that's the biggest challenge, is like we're guilty of that, of like taking a course and not implementing it, or having something done for us and we don't continue.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes me think of, so like, let's say someone's looking at their Google Analytics and they're like, oh, I have decent traffic, but none of it's actually converting to, inquiries or anything like that. Is that something that you're looking at specifically to help figure out like where they might be missing key SEO words? Or is that different because like they're already landing on the page, but they're not inquiring?
Yeah, so I do have strategies related to this because I've noticed some patterns in the way wedding pros do things, especially like blogging. A lot of people just kind of assume if I can get someone to my website, I can get them to like travel around and look at my services and go straight to my contact form. But, people are busy. They're scanning your website. And so I try to really teach my students. I developed something called the love at first sight method. Basically, how do we get someone when they come to your website from a blog post, they're looking at Calamigos Ranch for their wedding, and you're a planner who's worked there. How do you actually make them fall in love with you in like the 10 seconds of your attention that you have? So a couple pieces of the love at first sight method. The first is in the intro, you actually have to mention who you are. Why are you writing this post? Too many of us are still writing like 2014 when we had subscribers, and you're assuming that people know who you are. But remember, your blog is that window. It's that entrance into your website. Someone who's landing here looking for this venue has never heard of your business before. So you have to say, as a California wedding planner, I have worked at this venue multiple times, and that's why I know these insider tips and want to share them with you. And then that person's like, okay. And then they're scrolling through. And then in the love at first sight method, you're going to end the blog post with their next step they can take with you if they're interested in that venue. How are you actually going to help that person in their journey? Hey, I've worked here multiple times. I can help you choose the season. I can help give you guidance on, which ceremony site to pick. I would love to talk this through with you. Here's more information on my services. Here's how to contact me to get started. So we can't just be like, this is a beautiful venue. Hope you liked my tips.
Right.
And think that they're going to immediately go ask you about your services. You have to sell in the blog post. Does that answer the question? I feel like this is one of the tangents.
No, that's so helpful. Because I assume a lot of people like are landing, especially for myself. I think about my own analytics. Like I think they're landing there from Pinterest because I've spent so much, like I get a lot of traffic from Pinterest. But now I'm curious. Like I feel like my blog posts are like telling the story about the wedding, and I'm like, they don't care. They want to know about the venue itself. So that's a great tip. Yeah.
Or if they're going to hire you, they want to know what you brought to that day.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a real wedding, how did you help work through the logistics? What did that client ask you for? And then that's why they made this decision on where their ceremony was or what time dinner was or how they did their exit. Like you have to weave yourself into that story a little bit if you want people to be interested in more than just the pretty pictures.
What a good takeaway for people. Sell in your blog post. Because I feel like nobody is really doing that in the wedding industry. It's always like telling about the couple and their love story. And it's like, no one cares, honestly, at the end of the day,
So. Except that couple's family.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, one of the big reasons we don't do a lot of real wedding blogs anymore. They're not ranking as well as they used to. And they don't really convert all that well either. So we've shifted a lot of our writing more toward the venue spotlight type blog posts, which are a little more evergreen. You can update new photos in a venue spotlight if you do a different wedding there that's more updated to your style. So we're not doing a ton of real weddings as far as like spending time and resources. I'm not sure they're the best place anymore.
Yeah, Carrie, we have a long to-do list, I think, after.
So right before this, Sarah, we were recording with Brittany about AI. So I feel like Gabby and I's brains are like feeling a little overwhelmed from all the things that we're like, we got to go implement, but all really good information that we're like so amped.
I don't want anyone listening to be like, I have to go do all of this immediately. I just want you to think about it the next time you're writing a blog post.
Exactly.
So helpful. I think it's great because it's helping to shift people's mindset of like, the ways that we have ever known blogging or SEO. It's kind of like, okay, these are great like tips to take me into, how things are moving and trending and like getting rid of the old style of blogging, which I think a lot of wedding pros probably feel beholden to in a sense of like, I gotta share, like you said, this client session or this couple's love story. And it's like, that's not what it's about anymore. Like people aren't subscribing, like you said, to a newsletter to read those stories. They really want to find inspiration or learn more about that venue specifically.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, okay. We're going to take a sharp turn over here and we're going to talk about something you brought up on podcasts, on other podcasts recently. That is the fact that couples are going to ChatGPT and they are searching for their wedding vendors that way. What the heck is happening? What are they putting in? What's popping out? Tell us what you know about this so far.
Yes. So this has been super interesting to me in the last year or so. I started watching some of our clients reporting and we started to see they were getting traffic from ChatGPT. Then we started actually being able to track that they were getting inquiries specifically from ChatGPT. And I was like, okay, we need to pay attention to this for sure. And so we started doing a little bit of our own research. It's kind of my hunch at this time that basically people are using ChatGPT as their assistant. And they're going, okay, based on what you know about me, what wedding planner should I hire in this location? Or based on, these criteria, what wedding photographer would be a good one for me to pick? I actually had an SEO student. She posted in our students' Facebook group and she was like, I just booked a bride from ChatGPT. And I asked her what she asked for. And it was this whole list of, it was like a wish list. I want a wedding photographer who's in this location, who works with people who are awkward in front of the camera, who has this kind of style and is in this budget range.
Wow.
And ChatGPT apparently recommended her as a good option, and she ended up booking. So I can absolutely, from a couple or engaged person point of view, think about how useful this could be if instead of like a traditional search engine where we basically go, okay, location plus service, we can actually give a AI search engine a bunch of criteria and it can give us recommendations. And so this is what's happening more and more now, is that couples are asking ChatGPT for their vendor recommendations. And when that other podcast interview came out, there were so many comments, both from people planning weddings and vendors, that were like, yeah, I found my videographer on ChatGPT, or yeah, a couple booked me last week who said they found me on ChatGPT.
Wow.
So it's this whole new horizon of search and a whole new opportunity to get found for things that are really specific.
So what are we needing to do as wedding pros to make sure we are popping up in these searches? Obviously, we don't necessarily know the exact criteria that our ideal client's going to put in, but perhaps since we have maybe an idea of who our ideal client in, we want to make sure like our website answers back to those criteria. Is that what you'd say?
Yeah. So the good thing about this, a lot of people are going to hear this and be like, I can't learn a new platform. Like, no, Sara, I refuse. And the good news is that traditional SEO best practices are actually helping businesses to show up.
Cool.
So when we use the phrases that align with what our couples are actually searching for, that works for Google and it works for ChatGPT, because it's so obvious for the robot to be like, oh, you're looking for a DJ in this location. This website says that right on it. It's a good fit. And so you don't have to learn a whole new thing. It's really about implementing your SEO best practices. And ChatGPT is going to see that information in the same way that Google does. So I want to really encourage everyone to still focus on the text on your website. You do need to have written text on your website if you want to appeal to these search engines, because they are reading what you have to say about yourself and using that as the criteria on if you're the right business to recommend. The other thing, though, that's been really influential is what is being said about you on other platforms too. So if you have listings online, I'm not saying anyone needs to go pay for those listing sites, but I am saying that these tools do scrape through the way that you describe your businesses on other platforms and to see if that aligns with what the searcher is looking for. So use your words, ask your clients really specifically what they were looking for when they chose to hire you, and see if you can make yourself some notes on phrases that couples seem to use a lot in your market.
And so I assume that's where like they found, or they have in their notes on their website or like their about me of like, I help couples not feel awkward in front of the camera. And so that's probably feedback that they got. So they put it on their website and then ChatGPT pulled that from their website.
Exactly. Yes. Or maybe it was something that someone said in a review. So encouraging
That's what
reviews.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. And using them on your website. So one thing, we've been doing a ton of our own test searches. And I did a whole workshop on this for students where we actually sat down with ChatGPT and we did our own test searches together to see what was coming up in your market. One thing that's really influential is having reviews on your own website. So bringing in your client testimonials and not just hiding them on a reviews page or a kind words page, but actually including testimonials throughout your website. Because when we pushed ChatGPT a little bit and we said, why did you recommend this particular provider? They said, well, their clients said blah, blah, blah about them. I'm like, ooh, where was that? And it was like a quote they put right on their own website. So we can actually control what these robots are reading. They're not super smart quite yet, or at least ChatGPT isn't. And, it's reading exactly what you write on your own website and using it as justification for why you're included there in the results.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
So Sara,
your brains are exploding.
I know.
Yes.
Well, I feel like Gabby and I are processing like, what do we need to be doing to update things? But Sara, what are some tips that you could give to our listeners today that they could improve their SEO today? I feel like we love to leave our jabbers with some actionable steps if they are feeling overwhelmed, of like easy tasks that they could, when they're done listening to the podcast, go and implement them today.
Okay. So based on what we talked about today, the number one thing I want everyone to do is go use your most important keyword on your homepage. So we're going to get away from being brilliant planners of soirees, and we are going to use the phrase event planner or party planner or wedding planner, for example. We're going to get away from being capturers of lifetime of memories, and we're going to make sure that you say that you're a photographer in a certain location. It's very influential. And I mean, don't feel silly if you look at your homepage and you go, oh, shoot, like I didn't use the word photographer on this page. It's common to do that because you're trying to stand out and use different language. I want to just recommend a shift that maybe in a heading near the top of the page, you use that most important keyword. Or maybe if you've got a little paragraph on your homepage that's a little bit about you and has your cute headshot, you say, I am Sara and I'm a Michigan wedding photographer. So include that keyword in a sentence if you can. And then
I have a quick side question on that.
Yeah.
So obviously in certain markets, like they're way more saturated, right? So I'll take myself, for example, like Los Angeles wedding planner, right? There's a ton of wedding planners. So how, like, obviously using that keyword on my page, but I feel like a lot of people just feel like that's so saturated, which is why they're probably putting like planner of soirees because they want to stand out. So do you feel like it's okay? Like, yes, it's still a saturated keyword, but it's going to still bring you in that ranking? Or is there like something else to tweak it a little bit to help it not be in that saturated keyword?
Yeah. So there's a few approaches to this. If you're in a really competitive market where everyone's using the same keyword, you might just have to roll with it. Like if this is the best keyword to describe your location and your services, you might just have to go Los Angeles wedding planner and then build out some content on your website that targets keywords that are less saturated and competitive. I have a student who's a Los Angeles wedding planner. She specializes in small weddings. And so instead of trying to do something flowery on her homepage, she's just created a lot of blog content that brings in people that are interested in small and micro weddings. So homepage is still optimized for Los Angeles wedding planner, but she's diversified her content to reach the right people. So you might just have to go with it. The other option is you can try a regional keyword, which in Southern California doesn't make it less competitive, but in some areas it does. But I mean, if you want to go Southern California, that's an angle you can take that maybe others aren't. You can try to focus maybe on a smaller suburb if you want to go really specific. I know most people don't, but it is an option that we've done for some photographers. If they're like, I'm in Virginia, I'm like, can we go with Arlington? Can we go with something a little bit more specific that's less competitive? That can work well. So it depends on how you want to present your business, what your options are, but there are a variety of things you can do. And sometimes it's about creating more content on things that are less competitive. But still, make sure the search engines understand Los Angeles wedding planner if you want any chance of showing up in ChatGPT when people start getting really specific about what they want.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it's such a common thing where people are like, it's so saturated in my area. Like, how do I stand out? But it's like, just stick to the basics.
Yeah. And then describe what's special about you. Yeah. Like, there's no fancy keyword where, we can get more descriptive. It might be Los Angeles wedding planner, but maybe in the age of ChatGPT, people are going to get more specific about, I want someone that specializes in tented weddings, or weddings in my backyard or small weddings or something like that. So still use the more broad keyword, but describe what's different within the copy of the page.
Perfect.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll let you finish the rest of your your tips.
Oh my gosh. What? Oh, the tips. I'm
Tips,
like,
yes.
where are we?
Tip number two. Tip number two.
All right. Second tip that you could take away, go do right away is add more text to your homepage. So this really goes along with what we were just talking about. But if you want a search engine to feel really confident in what you do, where you do it, what your style is, the best thing you can do is be very descriptive on the homepage of your website. Add in more testimonials. I'm not asking you to make it look like a wall of text. You can design things really nicely so that there's a decent amount of text there, but it doesn't feel like that scary wall of text. So maybe testimonials that rotate through 3 or 5 different testimonials, but you don't see all of them at once. That can be really helpful. I've seen some pros even add FAQs on their homepage. Some people don't love how that looks, but you can maybe do them in an accordion where you don't see the full text unless you click. So find a way that feels good, add more text to your homepage. It's going to help you to show up more in the different search tools.
That's helpful.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a third and final tip?
I do. I want everyone to go ask for Google reviews today.
Okay, Sara, the thing is, we do, and the people do not write reviews. I'm going to have to start paying them.
Okay. I have a couple of thoughts on this. The best thing about Google reviews is you don't have to be the paying client to leave the review.
True.
So you can also solicit reviews from your favorite vendor partners. Maybe you go leave some Google reviews for other businesses. They might, if they love you, come and review you as well. And it's pretty powerful if a venue manager is like, we love when Gabby's team is on site here. Or, another pro you work with a lot has nice things to say about you. That's totally within Google's terms of service. And I think it's really powerful for people to read that. So keep in mind, you don't have to just get reviews from your clients. You can also get reviews from like anyone who has a genuine experience with your business. So if you have planned a baby shower for your niece or something and they've experienced your event planning services, they can leave you a review. So call in all your favors for all those people I know you've helped
Gabby and I are
out.
going to be leaving reviews for each other.
Yes. Do it. Totally. Yeah. And then, I don't know how I feel about this, but I actually was just looking at one of my clients, their reviews page, and he got a random 1-star last week from who knows who. And he posted to his Instagram story and he was like, I'm so disappointed about this. We work so hard as small business owners. I don't even know who this is. Like, if you've ever worked with me and you want to go leave a positive review to combat this, like that would be really helpful for my business. And people showed up. Yeah. He got like 20 reviews in a day. Amazing. So really helped boost his numbers. Now, I'm not saying invent a 1-star review so you can go ask people for positive ones. And also keep in mind, if you do this and it looks really unnatural to Google, like you bought reviews, they may be filtered, but I looked at his and it looks like they're all still there. So it could be something that you try where you post on Instagram stories. And I don't know, it's my birthday and there's nothing I'd love more than a Google review. I don't know, like get creative and see if you can call some people in. Because for this photographer, people were like, he shot my wedding 12 years ago and we loved him. So it's never too late.
Crazy though that's what it takes, like for the person 12 years ago. I mean, who knows? Maybe the photographer never asked for reviews at the time, but now it's like people have a mission and they're like, we are in this together. We're going to write reviews as a united front. And then, but if it's just like, hey, did you like your wedding photos? Sorry, I don't have the time.
I don't have time. Yeah. I don't know. I can't explain
like combating
psychology,
the hate on social media.
Yeah.
Oh man, Sara, this was insane as always. I just like insane in the best way. And of course, we're leaving this like with a million ideas as we always do. But implementable things that we are going to work on today and this week and be better in the future when we're blogging. So at least we have something to help us as we move forward. You mentioned this earlier about one of your programs. How else can people find you and how can they work with you?
Yeah. So I've got a course and a done for you service. The course is Wedding SEO Bootcamp. It's super fun. It'll guide you through setting up your own SEO, or we can do it for you. Those basic steps in the SEO fix. If you just want to learn a little bit and you're not ready to quite dive in all the way, I also do a monthly SEO lunch and learn. So,
Cool.
I love lunch and learn. It's like 30 minutes, pitch free. I just teach something about SEO and do an open Q&A at the end. So totally welcome everyone to join me for that every single month.
That's amazing. We'll put all those links in the show notes, and we hope to have you again for
Yeah.
possibly part two. And then Carrie and I will be like, look at all this amazing SEO work we've done since you were last here.
Oh, I'm ready for that. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. But also, no pressure. Like every little step has a positive impact. So if you take one thing out of the 30 action items I just gave you, it's still going to do good things for you.
I feel like for those jobbers listening, I feel like, Sara, you were like, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Like implement a thing or two and it'll all work out.
Yes, you're doing great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sara. This was amazing. I feel like so many actionable things and just ways for us to improve our businesses and to let, old ways be in the past with blogging and things like that. But I think our jabbers are going to love this episode. So thank you so much for your time and for joining us today.
Of course. I'm so glad we could do this. And it was so great to see you both.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye, jabbers.
Bye.